My last video was about the nonlinear circuits Sloth Chaos synthesizer module. The video before that was about the dual quantizer synthesizer module. What happens if you put them together? Nothing good. So the problem is the dual quantizer is based on the DAC board, which is based on the Arduino Nano, and it takes the inputs that you give it and it puts them into the Arduino Nano, and the Arduino can only take inputs from 0 volts to 5 volts. So the DAC circuitry just doesn't try to do anything to rescale anything. It just takes any voltages that are above 5 volts and truncates them to 5 volts, and anything that's negative it truncates to 0 volts. The Sloth Chaos output is in the range from minus 5 volts to 5 volts. In fact, the LED on the front of the Sloth Chaos is red whenever the X output of the Sloth Chaos is negative. So whenever that LED turns red, if you've got the Sloth Chaos X output going into the quantizer, it means the quantizer is just throwing away anything the Sloth Chaos sends it and just saying, okay, it's 0, it's 0, it's 0, it's 0, because it gets stuck on 0. Kind of an unfortunate design feature of the DAC board, I admit, and someday I may get around to designing a new version of the DAC that doesn't have that limitation, that will be able to take negative 5 to 5 or 0 to 10 volt input voltages and convert them to 0 to 5 volts for the Arduino to work with, but someday. In the meantime, I decided as a sort of stopgap measure, I would come up with a little simple op-amp circuit that I can use for this purpose, and I put it into this module here, which I call the Positivizer. And you can see I did a really horrendous job with the panel here. You get these splotches, and it's starting to peel at the corner and so forth. It's ugly, but it works. So you can put a minus 5 to 5 volt signal here, and it converts it into a 0 to 5 volt signal here. It takes the signal and it squashes it down and it shifts it up so it's sitting in the 0 to 5 volt range. And so then you can take something like the Sloth Chaos, or you can take a zero-centered low-frequency oscillator or whatever, something that produces signals in the minus 5 to 5 volt range. You can use that with the quantizer. So it's kind of handy, and as I said, it was a very simple circuit. It didn't seem worthwhile bothering with coming up with a printed circuit board for it. On the other hand, strip boards tend to be something I'm not that much fond of. So what I used was one of these things. This is a prototyping board. It's similar to a lot of prototyping boards you see on the market. It's got strips along here for your power rails and a place in the center for your integrated circuits, and then on the two sides you can make your connections to the ICs. It's got a couple differences from what you usually see in these things. First of all, there are 3 rails on each side for plus 12, minus 12, and ground. And then there's footprints for a Eurorack or Cosmos style power connector, as well as a place where you can put a couple of diodes or 10 ohm resistors, or in this case I used a couple of resettable fuses, places you can put a couple of electrolytic capacitors, and and those connect up to the power rail. So it makes it very simple to use one of these things to quickly put together some simple circuit for a synthesizer module. This is the first use I made of this thing, and I liked it a lot. It really made this thing an easy thing to put together. There were a couple of minor details that I didn't like. I wasn't crazy about the physical orientation of the capacitors. I changed that. And I also added, you probably can't see this too well, but there's numbers across the top here and letters down here to help you keep track of where things are on the board. So this is the revised version of that prototyping board. Just got this the other day. So yeah, I like that, and I think you might enjoy working with that. If you think you might want to use one of these prototyping boards, there's a link in the description below to a GitHub repository where you can download the Gerber files and upload them to your favorite PCB fabricator and get yourself some prototyping boards for synthesizer work. And the next video I'm going to be doing is going to be about another module that I did that also uses one of these prototyping boards. It is, frankly, a much more interesting module than this one. Could hardly be less interesting, really. But I think it's something you're going to enjoy hearing about a lot, especially if you're into circuit bending, because it's kind of a hybrid circuit bending synthesizer module project. And I think you'll find it very interesting. So hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned. See you next time on Analog Output.